Hello everyone, and now welcome to a game. This game is going to be an all-the random game between HawK and Inspired, taking place here on Red Rocks. As you guys probably already noticed from the title as well, it is an all-the random game, meaning, well, heroes are random, races are random as well. Let's go ahead and get to that 2-minute mark because there's no real reason to talk about strategy until, well, the players and us discover what hero and what strategies can be based off of that particular hero now. Gonna go ahead. It is gonna be a Death Knight coming in from HawK going up against a Death Knight coming in, from Inspired. So interesting Death Knight mirror match in this human versus orc matchup here, as the Death Knight opens things up with a quick Death Coil, gets purged. Militia gonna go ahead and quickly surround the Null Assassin, perhaps then quickly go after that Null Warden, the things that do have medium armor, try to reduce their damage there. That Militia already gonna go ahead and fall back here as the Death Knight picks up a tome. Meanwhile, off to the north, or off to the other side here, HawK coming across with a Death Knight of his own, hasn't done any real creeping yet, doesn't have any experience on the board, as this Null Overseer is about to get taken down. Oh, who's gonna get the last bit of the experience? Death Knight comes in, gets the Death Coil, and now the two Death Knights are gonna be looking at each other. Alright, Death Knight versus Death Knight mirror match. The two Death Knights are not going to be able to get Death Coils on each other, but oddly enough, Inspired not going to be able to use a Death Coil to heal his peasants, as we see a surround onto the Death Knight. Death Knight getting boxed in by a couple of boxes, and now completely surrounded in this cage. Alright, yeah, I don't know how much more I can talk about this situation here. Talking about the little crates, talking about that cage, as the Death Knight gets caged in back here, and well, needs to teleport away. There are a couple of headhunters looking to join in on the battle here. Death Knight comes across, and a little bit of a benefit for the Death Knight here. Doesn't pick up healing salves. Oh, so HawK didn't have his Voodoo Lounge already up, and without that Voodoo Lounge is unable to heal this Death Knight. There is a fountain of health here off to the side. There's a couple of footmen here as well. The Death Knight, are they perhaps going to aggro those creeps and then try and run away? This Death Knight taking a little bit of damage as well, down to, 89, 90 hit points, as the Death Knight, may end up trying to finish off that footman here. Alright, we see a Death Coil. Headhunter trying to retreat back. This Death Knight hanging out in a really odd spot here. A couple of low hit point footmen are going to try to head back over to that Fountain of Health. It looks like they're going to be doing exactly that. Death Knight of Inspired seems to be okay, as Red being forced to retreat back to his neck of the woods. Alright, Centaur Sorcerer. Remember, however, the Sea Elementals do not actually sleep, so this is a little bit of a dangerous proposition here. All of these units having a bit of stun. The footman, wow, this footman would have gotten killed earlier. That those Sea Elementals actually moving at a pretty decent speed, not like those slow moving water elementals, ends up getting in that final hit there. Off to the north, HawK does have a replenishment potion. Perhaps that's exactly what the doctor ordered, a way to be able to heal up. Use that replenishment potion. Also pick up some healing salves for some of those headhunters, as the Great Hall is done upgrading to tier 2. Inspired getting up a lumber mill, also getting up a tower of his own here. Scout tower getting built. I'm not quite sure how important an arcane tower is in this matchup here. Normally, the Death Knight needs skeletal minions to really play strong and play well. There's level 2 now on that Death Knight here. A little bit of regeneration as well. We're seeing some more damage go down as the Quill Hunter here. Alright, down to 133 hit points. Footman trying to get in some damage, some hits. We're looking at a low hit point unit again. We're going to see some damage go down, as the Death Knight perhaps could have Death Coiled one, instead gets the other kill here, and could be going after one of, HawK's other units again. So it is odd to see how this game is unfolding with mirror Death Knights only being able to use it for essentially storm bolts or ways to deal lasting damage onto some of these units without also being able to heal and not also having skeletal minions. So this does come as a weird spot here, reflecting some of that damage back. Unholy Aura also benefiting as well, being able to get a little bit of additional healing as that Spirit Lodge looks like it's about to get taken down. Is it going to fall down to 70 hit points, under 50, and now being repaired. There is another heal again, but the Spirit Lodge looks like it will be fine as a bunch of peons come off of the burrow in order to get in some repairs. Grunts out here on the battlefield. Inspired looking to retreat all the way back down to the south side here. Inspired going for the economic game. We're seeing even more towers being placed down, adding in a blacksmith, teching the tier 2, and well, not getting the masonry upgrade just quite yet. Perhaps should get that upgraded lumber harvesting first, as the Death Knight now goes after the 2 elemental creep camp by hiring up a Goblin Shredder as well. That Goblin Shredder is going to be able to deal significant damage to these units here, trying to rack up more and more of that damage. Again, why is it retreating back? It really needs to be joining in on that fight here. Or perhaps lumber is for Inspired. Reason for that. All right, the elemental about to get taken down. Centaur Sorcerer about to get taken down as well. And somehow the Footman with the Fend able to hold back the attack of all of that piercing damage. It's not somehow predictably the defend on those Footmen able to reflect back a lot of that damage from the sea elementals and that Centaur Sorcerer. That is a 5/5/5 creep camp. Clarity Potion now on that Death Knight. Oh, did he accidentally grab that sheep? Yeah, it looks like he accidentally grabbed the sheep, and now that is going to be a random critter just moving around there. Death Knight trying to regroup up here as you see a big Frost Nova go down. Oh wow, HawK with Death Coil Frost Nova as part of the Orc army repertoire. However, without Obsidian statues, and Orc being notoriously difficult at trying to maintain mana, what is the Death Knight and the Lich really helping to do except use a bunch of Clarity Potions? We do see Witch Doctor Mastery training, so perhaps we're going to be a bunch of trolls alongside the Death Knight here, as a Goblin Zeppelin now ready to drop inside that main base. Goblin Shredder back across here, going to clear out many of these trees here. We are getting masonry upgrades now. No, I don't know if we have improved lumber harvesting yet, as the Goblin Zeppelin getting ready to drop into position. Plenty of lumber. That is a lot of peons to be had. Death Knight ready to come across there, and here we are. Here we go to, well, perhaps put in some damage. Peons are already looking to retreat back here. That is a lot of defending as the Death Knight. Well, level 2 Death Coil able to reflect back quite a bit of damage again. Death Knight coming back across, does have a Wand of Mana stealing. Are we going to see another peon getting killed? There goes a Footman about to get taken down. One Orc Burrow gets taken down. What is this Spirit Lodge? 1 or 2 more shots should finish off the Spirit Lodge. There it goes again, as the Berserkers are making their way over. Footman with the Fend are going to have an absolute field day against this army of Berserkers, as we finally see HawK, well, tiny Great Hall able to set up an expo in the center of Red Rocks. We do not have a second hero being trained up by Inspired yet. The Death Knight is still wandering around here on the southern side. We are looking for, well, HawK to get up this expansion here in just a second, fully saturated. And once it is fully saturated, the economic advantage will be neutralized. A bunch of Orc Burrows were lost here, as we're looking at the Death Knight leading the charge off to the north. We are getting up a second hero finally from Inspired, so we're not going to have any more of a hero advantage here, as the Death Knight joins in here perhaps to try and finish off some of these peons, finishing off one peon quickly with a Death Coil here. Scroll of Town Portal, now tactical retreat. We're going to see Goblin Zeppelin pick up units and now retreat back. The Berserkers unable to get those, and unable to get down that that Goblin Zeppelin. Yeah. So militia still wandering around here. Are we gonna? No, these militia, they really can't do anything except for perhaps try to set up a couple of towers and do a little bit more play here. Footman with the Fend. Death Knight perhaps gonna be able to get off another quick kill here. A couple of footmen, however, are trying to reflect back damage, and one footman being left behind. Well, 2 footmen and 1 death knight here. That last footman does end up getting pummeled down. Inspired is sitting at 47 supplies, sitting on was sitting on 1,200 gold. As we're looking at a couple of towers being placed down here, and then aggressively expanding towards his opponent. This is turning into a very heavy economic game, as the Death Knight finally sees where the expansion is from his opponent. Now going to try and take it down. Death Knight, footman coming across here. Are we going to see, yes, another peon gets taken down once more. And, well, Inspired apparently not really caring about his footmen, allowing them to get taken down here. Dark Ranger as the second hero from Inspired. So we see every undead hero. Well, I guess no, Pit Lord is considered an undead hero in WarCraft 3. Or, yeah, undead. I guess you can say it's undead hero. Technically, it's Demon is the Pit Lord. If we do see the Pit Lord as a third and final hero, I can say we finally see all 3 or all heroes that could be healed by a Death Coil instead. All right, Spellbreakers joining in on the battle here. Are we going to be looking at a Staff of Sanctuary? No, we are not. We do have Knights out here on the battlefield, though, as the towers are getting constructed up. We have level 2 Masonry upgrades. That is important, with level 3 going to be added in as well. We have, I don't remember the last time I saw level 3 Masonry upgrades at all, but level 3 Masonry upgrades upgrade the armor from 5 to 8. And also gives an additional 150 hit points. Yeah, remember back in the day, way long ago, they actually gave an additional 300 hit points, not just an additional 150. Dual cannon towers. We see a Fire Lord as the third and final hero coming across from HawK. And now, well, that one grunt pretty much knows exactly what hit him and needs to back away, taking quite a bit of damage. Just trying to walk by those towers. Dark Ranger, second hero. No sign of a third hero. Goblin Shredder clearing out this lumber here pretty easily. 60 over 70 supply compared to 63 over 72. Mercenary camps, though, have not been cleared out. That does come as a bit of an odd, as we know how important mercenary camps are in all the random games and how much they can make a drastic difference. Fountain of Health may not have been the right call. Oh, the Centaur Khan getting resurrected right there. Dark Ranger trying to get more and more skeleton minions out here on the battlefield. And Death Knight, Unholy Aura, these knights are actually going to be moving even faster as the Centaur Impaler gets taken down. And finally, the Centaur Khan going to get taken down as well. All right, that is a lot of damage here. Demolisher also being brought over. So this location quickly getting destroyed. And are we going to perhaps see a Scroll of Town Portal to try and defend? We are. And here we are inbound trying to defend already. All right, little bit of damage. Demolishers are going to see any true damage there. Death Knight, Death Coil finishes off. I believe that was the Troll, Witch Doctor. More damage still coming back across here. Damage going down onto a grunt. There are a couple of Spellbreakers. Dark Ranger low on mana. Does have Endurance Aura, so the undead army of Inspired, or the army of Inspired, moving very quickly. And with Unholy Aura level 2, and also adding in Endurance Aura. The Demolisher looking to lob a couple of damage here. 780 hit points. Remember, cannon towers naturally have a little bit more hit points anyways. So guard tower 650, 780 on this cannon tower, and this cannon tower does in fact have fortified armor, making it take increased damage from that Demolisher. All right, little bit of damage here. That Demolisher is trying to push its way through. Death Knight, Dark Ranger, Endurance Aura trying to get some damage onto that Demolisher there. There is a quick healing ward placed down, and the positioning of those healing wards. Goblin Shredder looking to really rack up damage as well. Remember, Goblin Shredder does deal high, medium, or a high normal damage, which means that the Knights do deal quite a bit, or Knights and Goblin Shredders do deal quite a bit here. Inspired now being forced to back away. A couple of the Berserkers, are we going to see a Staff of Sanctuary? We are not. Inspired, I don't believe, has been using Staff of Sanctuary effectively at all, as the Demolishers are still living up to their name, trying to take down these cannon towers. All right, Staff of Sanctuary out of combat. Dark Ranger perhaps going to pick up another Staff of Sanctuary, can easily bring back another unit again. And we're still looking at more fighting getting through. The cannon towers could be going after those Witch Doctors that will be dealing bonus damage as the Dark Ranger now heads its way off to the north once more. All right, we do see the, well, Witch Doctors, there's healing wards quickly getting removed there as we see a Demolisher finally getting taken down. Dark Ranger sitting at level 3. A Berserk Elemental coming in from Inspired, coming in from the far side here, does do chaos damage and could perhaps finish off a Fire Lord. No, the Fire Lord able to back away in time as we see a Stasis Trap go down. All right, low hit point Knight. Is this low hit point Knight going to try and back away? It was trying to back away, but ends up walking back into the fight just long enough to get finished off by an auto attack from the Fire Lord, giving that Fire Lord a level 2. As the units retreat back here, Dark Ranger, well, and Death Knight, both of them can start Staff of Sanctuarying expensive units back home. That pig, well, ends up getting fed off there, or get feedbacked off right there. HawK is in a interesting spot, 3 bases to 2 here on Red Rocks, as the taking of the additional base perhaps catching them off guard. Inspired, are we going to see quick destruction of that ward right there? I thought those wards had 100 hit points, so I'm surprised at how quickly that ward went down. All right, there's a healing ward placed down. Yeah, healing wards have 5 hit points, no surprise. A Flying Machine perhaps to keep track of those stasis traps. Low hit point units trying to fall back here again and again, and that Spellbreaker will be able to hang back here. There's a Death Oil, there's a Staff of Sanctuary, and there's that annoying play where you deal 900 damage only to see that unit get teleported back home safely. Death Knight, this Knight, however, he gets taken down, and we see a tactical retreat by HawK, being forced to use the Scroll of Town Portal in order to get away. Major economic advantage now by Inspired, sitting at 80 supply compared to 54. 3 bases versus 2, as the main bases still have about 7 minutes of mining left. All right, Mountain King, 3rd and final hero from Inspired. Are we going to see a 3rd Staff of Sanctuary? That is going to be interesting to see. Yeah, 3 Staff of Sanctuaries by Inspired. Mountain King having a Stormbolt follow-up, or a Stormbolt follow-up onto some of those units. Mountain King, however, trying to dive on in here, actually in a very tough spot, actually gets stunned, trying to back away, and will end up staying alive. The healing ward is now down, and we're just looking at a little bit more damage. We're going to see a Stormbolt. Yes, Stormbolt go down onto the Death Knight. Death Knight could be in a lot of trouble, and we see that healing ward getting taken down. Spellbreakers do not have control magic. Stasis Trap there. There's a Frost Nova going back across again as a Skeletal Minion getting cleaned up.
Under attack.
Torrens pushing back the other way again. We see Purge onto that Berserk Elemental. Well, however, Purge does not deal damage to this particular elemental, only the water elemental variety, even though they do look the same. All right, Lich has that Orb of Lightning, so that's going to be able to purge units and keep them temporarily stunned. We're still seeing more damage here. The Torrens perhaps going to be able to use Pulverize effectively to really damage this front line of Spellbreakers. At this stage in the game, HawK, in terms of the racial matchup and in terms of hero composition, is having a little bit of a tough time. Torrens need to do a lot of work in order to pulverize the ground and get on top of all of those Spellbreakers. And I am surprised Inspired has just not gotten control of magic in order to turn these Stasis Traps around. Oh, Stasis Traps have 25 hit points now. So that is the difference there. There's that stun. Some of those, well, some of the Spellbreakers able to absorb that all. There in comes the Staff of Sanctuary. We do see an Orb of Slow coming in from the Mountain King, as the Mountain King now looks to back up again. Alright, there is a Sentry Ward right here. Okay, so Stasis Traps no longer have 100 hit points. Must have been one of the patches that I had forgotten about. So many changes after years or decades of WarCraft 3. Alright, Staff of Sanctuary for a save right there. Again, Fire Lord, Death Knight, and Lich being forced to fall back once more. 81 supply compared to 70. Inspired does not want to be at that particular supply rate. yeah, just finish off one of those peasants right there, and no longer having high upkeep is key. Death Knight handing the Sobi Mask over to the Mountain King. Mountain King needs a little bit more mana again. Death Knight sitting at level 4, Dark Ranger sitting at level 3, Mountain King sitting at level 1, going up against 4-3-2. Both sides with level 3 weapons attack and level 1 armor upgrades. Mortar Team's now getting ready to get into position here, and in a base trade position, whoever has more bases generally comes out on top. So here we are. There's a quick death coil. There goes the Mortar Team. Level 5 now on the Death Knight. Turn back around, perhaps start trying to death coil down some of those Torrents. Torrents are upgraded O2 now, as the Spellbreakers are joining in the battle. Alright, only the Berserkers have the level 3 weapon upgrade. Knights are still trying to push their way through. Low hit point Knight getting purged down. Is he going to be able to escape away? Yes, quickly with a Staff of Sanctuary. Still 2 Staff of Sanctuaries available as HawK waiting for those stasis traps to arm. Alright, Mortar Team's also lobbing attacks onto those Berserkers in that back line. There's that stasis trap, seemingly lasting for so long as the Death Knight of HawK gets up to level 5. There goes the Death Throw the other way around as the Mountain King falls at level 1. Inspired being forced to do a tactical retreat this time around as another Knight gets taken out as well.
Players' forces are under attack.
Healing wards used pretty consistently. Spirit Walkers once more being able to resurrect those Tauren. So what's going to come out? On top here, is it going to be Knights with Staff of Sanctuary, or is it going to be the constant resurrection from the Spirit Walkers over and over again? Tauren, O2 upgrades. They still give experience when they fall, though, and that is going to be incredibly important as the peons are joining in on the battle here to perhaps free up some supply, but also absorb a little bit of damage. All right, in comes the Tauren here. They're trying to take down some of those units, and it looks like those units are going to be backing up again. Main army of Inspired, well, falling back. It is 2 bases versus 1 right now. Expansion down here on the southern side only has about 2.5 minutes of mining. This base here does not have much, as the Tauren are able to, well, push on through right now. There goes some healing wards. However, Inspired by throwing those cannon towers, making sure to go after those Witch Doctors, as you can see. And those Witch Doctors, well, are not tanky enough to absorb some of that damage. Coming back through, we're looking at this creep camp now getting cleared up. Inspired transitioning into Griffins now, and that may be a problem. I do not see Bestiaries. Dual Tauren Totem, no Bestiary, and well, that front line of Tauren may just end up becoming well, targets for those Griffins to just get taken down. All right, let's go after this wild camp here. Death Knight looking to back away. Dark Ranger sitting at level 4. Mountain King perhaps when they try to get resurrected. There's going to be some damage. Mountain King out here as well. Enraged Wildkin getting cleaned up. Mountain King does have that Orb of Flow, able to shoot up, so to speak, as the Harpy Storm Hag, also going to get taken out. Expansion here has now been, well, taken down. HawK with the tiny Great Hall already able to set up another Great Hall here, and now well, flip the script. HawK now with 2 bases, and now Inspired with only one operational base, as he needs to get this base operating as well. All right, once these peons or the peasants get over here, it should be down to, well, yeah, down dropping the construction time pretty quick, down to less than 30 seconds now, as this Arcane Vault is, well, not getting taken down yet. All right, we're going to see some damage go through Death Coil, Frost Nova, both sides fighting through. Griffins trying to keep back here, really going after those Tauren. That could change things here. Death Knight, Mountain King, it could be in trouble, down to 149 hit points. Needing to get Staff of Sanctuary out already, as the Griffins are going after the Spirit Walkers, and now going after the Spirit Walkers, perhaps going to go after the Taurens. All right, so that's going to be a lot of experience. The Death Knight already up to 5.5 here for Inspired. He's still making his way forward, as Taurens are getting resurrected back up. All right, so Griffins trying to focus things down here, trying to finish off some of those units. Death Knight down to dead, and no easy way to resurrect that as the Griffins are now backing up once more. All right, are we going to see a Staff of Sanctuary? No, we are not. I would have expected to see a Staff of Sanctuary, except I believe it was on cooldown. Level 6 now on the Death Knight. Death Knight, oh, animate, dead. Gets back a lot more units, and suddenly that shift changing things around here as a couple more Tauren are going to get felled as well. That is going to be a lot more units to try and clean up. Knights trying to make their way over. That Knight perhaps shouldn't be leading the charge. Going after the Demolisher as well could be key. Just trying to finish off key targets. There goes another Tauren again, and Dark Ranger trying to finish off. There goes a Tauren back up. So Taurens are just getting knocked back down, but getting back up again as the Dark Ranger uses the Staff of Sanctuary once more. All right, this Knight gets taken down. We're going to see another Walker getting taken down again. That inspired ethereal walking Spirit Walker, and gets taken out easily as the mortar teams show up to try and finish off the rest of these buildings here again. More Staff of Sanctuary. Dark Ranger about 5 2/3 trying to finish things off. Mountain King stormbolting the Firelord. Firelord waiting for a death coil perhaps to try and finish off. Are we going to see no death there? Firelord falls at level 3. Death Knight able to stay alive as we see Staff of Sanctuary as 2 mortar teams were not within range. All right, so those mortar teams not within range. 48 supply compared to 54. The Spirit Walkers trying to resurrect each other, trying to reclaim and re-get those units back out onto the battlefield. We are looking at 1 base mining versus 1 base mining again. And Inspired, who for so long had the economic advantage, now needs to try and translate that to an army hero level advantage. Undead on the move here. 59 supply compared to 48. Mountain King, Wanda Mana stealing triple Staff of Sanctuaries for Inspired. We haven't seen amazing Staff of Sanctuary play, but just enough to perhaps get the job done here, as we're looking at a low hit point Griffin about to get into a little bit of trouble. There's a Death Coil. That gives level 5 to the Lich. I was surprised that we didn't see a Staff of Sanctuary in time. Mountain King perhaps going to try and Stormbolt down that Death Knight. Death Knight down to 290 hit points. There's a Stormbolt down to 155. And is it going to end up falling? It will. And that should end up being the game. Inspired outlasting HawK, taking that, well, west side 9 o'clock expansion and being able to hold on to it for long enough to get a major resource advantage and translate that into an army and tech swap advantage once we saw that many Tauren. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below.